Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursdays, April 24th. It's exactly 11:05. I come to you a little tired. Let me take that back. A lot of tired, challenged with a battling a headache, trip how when your temples are pounding, it's kind of difficult to focus, but I'm relentless with this and we don't make any excuses. We are relentlessly forward motion. So excited to be back with you. It's been a crazy couple of days of travel for those of you guys who've had the one-to-ones scheduled on my calendar and we weren't able to get to it yesterday from being in San Diego or Temecula. We're on the calendar for two for tomorrow. We will get it done. So thank you for your flexibility in advance. We got a full day today, but before we go onto the field in traditional conversion clinic fashion, we're in the tunnel. And if you can have your camera on, which most of you do, so I don't have to really say this, I would and act like you want to be here, show that you want to be here. I would greatly appreciate that. I want you to take a second and let's just think. Better yet, better said, let's visualize. Who are you in 5 years? Think about it. Where are you in 5 years? How old will you be in 5 years? I'm going to start. I want everyone to type how old they will be in 5 years in the chat. I'm going to start. I'll be 54 in 5 years. I know I don't look like it. I know some of you guys are like, what? Black don't crack. Yes, I'll be 55 in 54 in 5 years. How old will you be? I see it in the chat, 54, 53, 40, toots, 42, 43, 50. Love it. Love it. How old will your children be? If you have kids, how old will they be? If you don't have children now, will you have them in 5 years or do you plan to have them in 5 years? What does that look like? What is your quality of life? I want you to sit with that. Like legit. How does it feel? What do you look like? How's your business in 5 years? I want you to see it, like really connect to it, and then own it, whatever that looks like for you. And here's why I say that, because our mindset directly influences our ability to create. And the person that is counting on the person 5 years from now is counting on your commitments today. Small, simple steps, tiny habits create a tremendous impact in our lives. We're not talking business, we're talking human development, humanity, our beings. And how are we going to get to that 5 year vision that we just saw of ourselves? By taking the small, simple steps, the tiny habits that create massive, massive, massive impact. I don't know about you, but my vision of myself in 5 years, I'm a completely different man who's living on a completely different frequency. And these small steps that we're taking now, pushing through a headache, tired as hell, average of 4 hours of sleep over the last 2 days, can it plane up, plane down, business meet. Those small, simple steps are going to make these tiny habits of staying consistent and committed and disciplined, no matter what. Headache, hungry, travels, sleep deprived, it doesn't matter. Sick, back hurting, or whatever ailment or circumstance that we're all experiencing, because we all experience them in our lives. No excuses. Myself 5 years from now is depending on my commitment that I'm making today. And so is yours. And here's why. Growth is a mindset, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the finish line. I look forward to meeting yourself in 5 years. Dan, I can't wait to see your mustache in 5 years. Kyrell, I can't wait to see you in 5 years. Darrell, new agent, new into the space, going to be joining the team here very soon. Super excited to have you in the space. I can't wait to see you in 5 years. Just living from the commitments that you're making today. With that, let's get to conversion mastery. We've got some programmatic updates. We are trending in the right direction. Dan, thank you for stepping in the Zillow Flex meeting with our rep yesterday. Elias and I were in San. We took a trip to Temecula on Tuesday and had meetings on Tuesday night. Didn't get in our hotel till hella late. Had intensity at 6 in the morning, and then mirrored their entire system, a system that we're going to bring to our flex team for our expansion market. That's super dope. It's called iConnect. You'll be hearing a lot more about it, a lot more trainings coming up as we start to prepare to not only take over or continue our takeover in the Bay Area, but taking over the Central Valley because we coming. With that, Dan, I pass the microphone to you, my brother.
All right. Thank you, Vernon. Yeah, it's a good wake-up call for how old we will be in 5 years from now. That would have been an exciting thing. I feel like getting older is not that scary. It's just new phases, new chapters. So, like Vernon mentioned, we a couple programmatic updates here. So we officially got the green light for Stockton. A couple of you I've had this conversation with already. Yeah, and congratulations, big congratulations, Vernon. Big congratulations to you on all the work you've been putting in, everyone on this team. One of the important things about the Stockton expansion, it will be a separate team. So the way that Zillow has set it up is that it's basically going to be if you are on one team, then you'll only be able to get leads through that department through so most of us are Bay Area team will only be able to get Bay Area leads. If you want Stockton leads, then you would need to be on just the Stockton team. And so there's several of us in the room here where that's going to make sense to make that switch over to the Stockton geography. Some of you who live in that area, a few of you are kind of on the fringes, on the cusp, where it might be a little faster to drive to Manteca or Lodi or Tracy or Mountain House or Stockton than it is to drive to Oakland or Richmond or some of the other areas where we have leads coming through. So if this is something that you're interested in and want to talk about this, I think I've got a pretty good idea of where everyone is geographically. But hit me up on Slack if you're interested in talking about switching over to the Stockton team and the Stockton program. I can get you more information on that, just see if it's something that even makes sense. Because again, that is going to be run a little bit differently. We're going to be testing some things out with the Stockton expansion since we'll be building that from the ground up to see if some bigger programmatic changes make sense to bring over to the Bay Area team. On the other side of that as well, we just got some more good news from our Zillow rep yesterday during our meeting that our lead flow for the Bay Area program is also going up next month. So May, we got approved for, I think, about 30% more connections. So greater connection volume is going to be coming through. Yeah, so big bump up. We've been kind of pushing them for a while for the last several months. We've been keeping very consistent at the number of monthly connections. We've been getting about 175 to 200 connections a month. And doing that so that we can make sure that our goals stayed consistent so that we were winning, we were crushing our goals. We've been hitting our percent to target 120+% every single month, really crushing it. That's opened up new opportunities. And so now we're slowly starting to ratchet up the number of leads we're getting each month. So expect to see, we're not going to make major changes in terms of roster size. What we're really hoping to do is just get everyone's phones ringing a bit more. And then as we start approaching the point where everyone's feeling like, all right, this is, my phone's blowing up a little bit too much, then we start building the roster size back up again in the Bay Area, bringing new folks on. So expect to see most likely in May, your phone ringing a bit more when you're on shift. We'll keep those performance standards as tight as always. So, we've been having folks about, a third or half of the team is paused for various reasons at any point. So if you are paused and want to jump on this lead flow, reach out to Vernon, reach out to myself. check that roster to make sure that you're eligible to receive leads for that next shift. And from the conversation with Max or Zillow rep, we're expecting to see probably similar level 10%, 20% increases in lead flow over the coming months as well. So we'll start to see this. But we want to be very mindful that we're hitting our goals for our transaction target and not getting out over our skis in terms of the number of leads we're getting through. So because we've been crushing it the last 4 or 5 months. And by the way, if anyone has questions on this stuff, please feel shoot me a message, shoot me a direct message, whatever. And again, if you're interested in Stockton, I think we might have the roster set at that because it's going to be a pretty small lead flow to start off with. So the roster is going to be 8 people, maybe 10. But that also they're expecting to grow as we have success in that region as well. Okay. Another cool a couple of stats for you guys, things to be proud of for these last couple months. One for 2025 so far, the average contract price, I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but our average sales price for Zillow Flex leads, just on the buyer side, so far this year has been $855,000. That's the
Oh,
highest, yeah, by like $100,000 more than where we were at last year, 2024. So we're seeing the average contract price of the leads that are coming through just really, really going up. So you guys have been closing some big deals. I think we've seen at least probably 15 or so or more $1 million plus deals that have come through this year out of the 52 sold and pending sales that we've got. So we're seeing price points go up. But again, one thing that I want to convey to all of you is that we really also like to see the variety of price points that you guys are putting into contract, because all price points count, all families, buyers, we want to make sure that they're finding a place to call home. And so I really appreciate seeing still this big variety, this range of deals. We'll get a $2 million deal in contract and then a $200,000 deal in contract. And I really appreciate seeing that variety a lot as well, because it shows us that you guys are just working with as many people as possible and creating more opportunities. George says, does that also, I close if the lead came through the seller program and we help them buy too? Good question, George. So that does not count towards these stats. Seller program and buyer program, completely separate in Zillow books. The referral fees are different, percentages, all that stuff is different. So that I think would actually count towards the seller program stats, even though it's a buyer lead. Just think of it as like, it's almost as different as like Opcity and Zillow Flex. They're different departments at Zillow, but good question. Okay, one more update for me, and then I'll open it up to the group because I'd love to hear some success stories. I think actually all the folks that got into contract this last week might not be on the call today, but we've got several deals that have gotten into contract. But the last thing is this month, it looks like we're at about 9 deals in contract with a goal of 8. So we've already exceeded, if my count is correct, and everyone who's messaged me saying they have deals in contract, but we haven't seen them yet. If all of that is accurate, we're going to have another month where we're beating our percent to target, which is fantastic. Congratulations to everyone. So if you get a new deal in contract, if you haven't talked to me yet, and you get a new deal in contract in the next week before the end of this month, shoot me a message on Slack, because we may want to push that deal into May and make sure that we've got the deck stacked in our favor for next month, so we can keep hitting and beating our goal. So shoot me a message if you get a deal in contract this weekend, you get something ratified in the next 6 days, and just ask, hey, should I enter this in Zillow now or wait until May so that we can push that transaction forward?
hey Dan, so
Yep.
month to date with the direct messages that you've gotten from agents who have ratified most recently, what's the number? What's our month to date number?
Okay, so on Zillow, we're showing 6. On the sales tracker, we're showing 8. And I believe that's actually 9 on the sales tracker. And I think there's one person who has messaged me that still hasn't entered on the sales tracker. So I'm pretty sure we're at 9 for the month right now.
All right. Good work, you guys. Good stuff.
Yes. Oh, and the last thing that I want to thank everyone for big time. 6 or 8 months ago, our answer rate as a team was right above 40%. Zillow's cutoff is 40%. If we pick up the phone fewer than 40% of the time, Zillow puts us on probation and they say, hey, your team might lose access to the Zillow Flex program. We were on the cusp 6 or 8 months ago. Last March, we closed out the month with a 93% answer rate. across 159 calls. That is huge. So give yourselves a round of applause and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know these calls come through all sorts of time. It takes work. Half of us on the call are on the road right now, right? You're busy, you're out, you're doing things. So really taking the time to make sure that when you're on shift, you're picking up the call, you're filling these leads, it's showing up in a really big way. And that is a big part of the reason why our lead flow has increased as well here too. April, we're almost to the end of the month here. We're at 86% answer rate, right? Our goal is to be above 60% as a team. So we are absolutely killing it for our pickup rate. We are capturing as many opportunities as possible for the leads that are coming through. So big congratulations. Thank you to everyone. Okay, that's all I got for program updates. Let me open it up real quick. Anyone who has gotten a deal in contract in the last week or has a closing, Silatute, you mentioned that you've got one that's closing this week. Anyone want to jump on the mic and share their success story from contact to closing? How did you do it? What did the nurture look like? How did you get this deal under contract and these clients closed out?
Wins of the week, and it wouldn't
Wins of the week. Thank you, Brent.
even
I
be
always
more.
forget
It'd be
that.
more so wins of the last 2 weeks because we didn't have
Yeah,
to play last Thursday, right?
that's right. That's right. Wins of the last 2 weeks. Anyone who's gotten flex deals in contract in the last 2 weeks.
I can
So
go.
Toots, what do you
Toots,
got?
Toots got her hand raised first.
Go for it.
So I got into contract with these clients end of March of, yeah, end of March. We got the appraisal back and it came back like $50,000 under price.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I was able to do a reappraisal. I was able to pull comps for my clients and then I asked him to write a letter for the lender and then we got the appraisal back last week at asking price and we're finally closing. I felt like this deal was never going to close.
Toots, I want to congratulate you on that. And I heard something that you didn't settle for the initial appraisal,
Hell no.
right? And then went through the proper steps to one, defend and represent your client to ensure that the property came back at value, right? As opposed to going back to the negotiation table or maybe negotiating for a credit or renegotiating the offer price. No, you stood on business as it relates to defending and representing through your fiduciary responsibility to your client and had that reappraised. Man, I love that move. That's fire. That's
Yeah.
that's professionalism and expertise in action. Congratulations to that too. So thank you
I
for
mean, he was a VA, so I know, coming out of pocket was tight, so I didn't want him to pay for anything else, so.
That's a flex. That's a flex right there. Make sure that you create some content around that story. And here's why. For your buyer demographic that's following you, for your market that you're speaking to in terms of client profile, that story will show to the degree that you will go to bat for them as it relates to an appraisal.
Right.
You don't see agents creating content around that in terms of a win in a transaction that's going to separate you as it relates to value. Does that make sense?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, so make sure you tag me when you create that reel.
I will.
Hello. Thank you for that. Congratulations, Toots.
Thank you.
KD, what you got, my brother? Wins for the last 2 weeks.
Yes. So we closed the deal this month. This is probably the longest transaction of my career. It lasted over 60 days. So I met this client through Zillow in December and then showed him about 15, 20 properties. And we got him in contract end of January. And then it's a new construction, so we kind of negotiated the credits too. They were offering 15,000, so we negotiated additional 10,000, so they received $25,000 in closing cost credits. And on top of that, everything was going smooth. Everything was cool. They were moving from SoCal up here in Antioch, and later on, everything was smooth. The lender requested their what do you call that? Their work allowance that they're going to be working remote. So they didn't know that initially that will be required, but on top of that, their visa was also expiring. So they had to renew that as well. So when we were in contract, but the good thing is the other side was pretty flexible. They didn't say much to us. And the visa and the remote work approval alone took 1.5 months, which was crazy. And I was like, man, I hope this deal doesn't fall apart and their money's already deposit is already in there too. But the good thing is the other party was really, really nice throughout the whole transaction. But eventually everything worked out. We closed on April 11th. And it was a good transaction. It's just that it lasted over 60 days.
You, I got a one question, KD, is what market was this transaction in?
In Antioch, it was right next to my house where I live, so I know most of the new construction because I deal with them all the time. And then just because of I've taken a few clients over there too. It was just like the connection build up with those communities. And then they know I bring clients over to them all the time. And then they're like, okay, it's not a problem.
So
So
the relationship that you've established with those developers, right?
it goes a long way. It goes a
Oh,
long way.
bro, they waited a month and a half for your folks' documentation to process with no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I wouldn't say that I would say that that's solely connected to the relationship that you've established with those developers, right?
Of course.
Big stuff, man. Congratulations on that, KD. Thank you for that contribution. Aaron, my man, it seems like you've been having wins of the week for like 6 weeks in a row. I mean, who's counting? But what's your contribution this week, brother?
You're on mute.
You're on mute, my guy. You got them big old school. You know what? Let me, for a side note, when did we come back to the big old school headphones?
When we realize that earbuds are the most uncomfortable thing ever.
Seriously.
Bro,
Seriously.
so I'm an
Facts.
80s baby, right? I mean, I came up in the 80s, right? And those were it with the wire, with the cord to the Walkman, right?
I know what you're talking about. I'm glad they brought him back. I'm glad they brought him back. But anyways, I was saying the two wins this week are incredible. I mean, what KD just said, like builders are losing money if they don't close a deal. And so wait a month shows the value that he's brought to that community where they're willing to sacrifice money that they've lost. So, I mean, both instances is incredible. Mine, I just worked with a client and they closed last week. And this was a client that I'd been working with from September. And I just had to overcome a bunch of objections with them. Like it was the elections, then it was a new year, what's going to happen. And it was this, that, and the other. And even when we got into contract, we got a condo in Hayward that we got $4,000 off the purchase price. So they got a little concessions. They wanted more, but there was counter offers and a lot of negotiating back and forth. And at the end of the day, they decided to go for it. And this was one that we went into contract at the end of March, and I got a little overzealous and plugged it in when I was supposed to be saving it for April. But it
We wound up
closed.
being all right.
Yeah, exactly. And it closed super quick. The Stephanie over the money store, we were ahead of title. Like they had all the condo work, everything done where we could have closed a week early, and title was still waiting for the condo work on their end, which was weird. And that was disappointing. But we closed on Good Friday. The family was super happy, and it was one of the first ones that I've worked with on Zillow Flex. So I started in August, and it was like I'd probably say the first 5. And so I just overcome objections all the way through, and it ended up working out.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Fantastic wins for the week. I like the variety here. I like hearing the struggles that we go through to get people into contract. And I also like hearing about the struggles that we go through to keep people in contract, right? I think that Redfin report that came out this last week was saying that like 13 or 14% of buyers right now are canceling, which is actually fairly average, but some markets, it's as high as 20% of buyers are falling out of contract now. So just because you get a deal landed doesn't mean that deal is going to close. And like we just heard, there's a lot of work that goes into keeping deals together, to deal doctoring it. So I love hearing that sort of stuff. Vernon, any contributions you want to make before we transition to our next phase?
I do. I have a spontaneous message to market exercise. I'm going to call on any random person, and I want you to give us a message to market. If I'm a buyer or if I'm a seller, what is the trend in the market? What's happening in the market? What's the sentiment? Give me some statistics about your specific market, regardless of where you are. Let me see. Let me call on somebody. Oh, Glenn, you want to go? Did you raise your hand and then lower your hand?
To give you a second to think on this, Glenn, I really, Vernon, I love this question because we should always be prepared with an answer to that as quick as Vernon's asking it. For when you're at, a party and a friend's like, oh, you're in real estate, how's the market? Right?
Exactly.
You got to have it quick, or when you're making your cold calls and someone picks up and they're like, hey, yeah, actually I was wondering how's the market? Having that answer at all times ready in the back of your pocket is so critical because you never know when these opportunities are coming. All right.
I was gonna call on someone that was right next to you on the screen, Glenn, and I am gonna call on that individual. But since you put your hand up and put it back down and peekabooed me, you're on the hot seat, bro.
I love that it was called peekaboo just now. That's awesome.
Message to market, conditions and nuances. I'll ask you a straight question. Hey, Glenn, is it a buyer or seller market right now?
Vernon, I'm so glad you asked that. For the first time in history, we have buyers and sellers waiting on interest rates. That's right. For the first time in history, we've got sellers sitting there waiting for the interest rates to come down to a point that they're comfortable to sell. And we've got buyers waiting for the interest rates to get to a point that they're comfortable to buy. Now, here's the deal. If you wait to buy, then what you're going to do is that depending on where you're looking, if you're looking in Livermore, we're going to see appreciation of close to 10%. So if you wait 1 year to see what the interest rates are going to do on a house that's worth $1 million, you will have lost out on equity, on 10% of that equity. So you're going to leave $100,000 just sitting out on the table. So you don't want to wait. We're at historical moments due to economic uncertainty. One thing that you can do today is be certain and get into that house.
Hey, Glenn, I love that you incorporated data numerically because the data tells the story from as it relates to a buyer in the market that you're referring to, right? So
Yep.
using data to dispel, any fake news, because where are most consumers getting their information from? The news, right? Which their whole focus is views. Fear is what attracts what increases viewership, if you will. Whereas our responsibility is to be realist in terms of what the market is actually performing, how it's performing. So the data tells that story. The data dispels the fake news. And the fact that you put it numerically as it relates to Livermore, real estate appreciating at 10% annually, and that's a difference between 100 grand in value, right? Is it worth waiting for uncertainty to lose $100,000? Hell no. I want to make that $100,000 as opposed to pay that $100,000 if I wait for an interest rate to either go up or go down in the buyer's context. So, man, I love the way that you presented that, and you were super responsive. You stay ready. You don't have to get ready. Love that. Thank you for your contribution. I'm going to call on one more person. Kevin Bowie. Market conditions, brother. What are the nuances in the market where you are? You in the heart of the Bay Area. So is it a buyer seller market? What am I seeing? Is it a good time to get in? Should I stay on the sideline? Talk to me, Ken.
It's different because I've been like putting offers in Berkeley, and that's been super difficult. A lot of buyers are cash heavy. My buyers were cash as well, and I was seeing even a few weeks ago we lost to a fixer, and it went, I think, close to 800 grand above list. And then there was a few listings where they went above $1 million. So it really depends on which market you're in, right? Like Berkeley, still super strong with the homes, like in a good location out there. Even if it needs some work, I think the clientele out there are very cash heavy, and they're gonna go all out. So your competition is like, oh, you would think like for some other markets, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go 10% above or 30% above, but you really can't tell out there in Berkeley. Whereas in Oakland, there's a lot more inventory that I've ever seen. And there's a lot of homes sitting where you can actually negotiate now. And I think not having to go super crazy unless it's in a nice area. I'm seeing a lot of homes in Montclair. I think people are trying to get out just due to the insurance conditions and what have you. But yeah, I've been getting a few of these Zillow leads who are trying to get into the hills. And right when I tell them, hey, like, insurance is going to be quite difficult, and you're gonna have to go with the California Fair Plan, they kind of just stray away and they're like, okay, well, maybe we'll back out a little bit and look at different areas. So I think going to this is like educating your buyers for sure, especially with how the market is in terms of just even getting financing sorted with insurance. I think that's super important.
I agree with you. And it's a trip. Thank you, Kev, for your contribution. It's a trip how the demand shifts from market to market, right? Berkeley and Oakland they border each other, whereas Berkeley is 800 to a million over list price. Alameda's on fire like that, like similar to Berkeley, whereas Oakland has gotten, they're seeing property sit on the market for hella long. Just out of curiosity, Kev, because data tells the story, and just to further cement that perspective of that insight around the Oakland market, how many do we have any idea of what the average number of days on market for properties in Oakland are right about now? You said they're sitting on the market a lot longer.
I think the last check they were like close to that 40-day mark even. It's skewed because Oakland's so big and there's like deep East Oakland homes, as well as those Montclair homes they've been on the market for a minute, so I don't know. It's kind of like if you're looking in like Cleveland Heights or those nicer areas, they probably go in like 2 weeks. And Kuhn has listings out there where they sell in like 2 weeks easily. So yeah.
Right on. Kyrell, 56 days. That must be the inner city section markets in Oakland, is what you're referring to. Hey Kev, great contribution, man. Thank you for contributing to the collective wisdom. Hope we learned something. Here's the point. If we stay ready, we don't have to get ready. Okay. And everywhere that you set your 10 toes, that's your market. Every conversation that we have, that's an opportunity to really present some value and realistic updates, trends, nuances that are happening in your market, right? This is the separator for us, those who are informed and are presenting value, and those who are winning in the real estate market, and those who are closing very few deals throughout the 12-month, the fiscal year. So thank you for those contributions. Dan, I just wanted to throw that spontaneous question in just to put some, we want to make sure we keep everybody on their toes and
Love
make
it.
sure. Yeah. Thanks, bro.
And just a thought on what we heard there with the two responses, both Glenn and Kevin gave very market specific answers. And I think that's a really important thing for everyone to keep in mind, is that real estate is and always will be a local game, right? Real estate is hyper local. It can vary, by state, by city, by neighborhood, by street. And so whenever you talk to consumers and they're reading national level headlines, the Redfin report that just came out that said price reductions are the highest that they've been in a while. Sellers are offering more concessions than they have in a while. True, nationally, but it's important to know what's going on in the specific neighborhood, like Glenn was mentioning with the appreciation they're seeing in Livermore. Kevin was mentioning with offers going crazy over asking in Berkeley. So knowing your local markets adds so much nuance to what almost everyone's going to be hearing, which are national headlines. Chris, quick contribution here, and then we're going to switch to our last topic.
Yeah, whenever I get that objection from people about, when they're watching news and get all freaked out about inventory, I let them know that a majority of these numbers it's all specific to your area. Majority of the numbers are Texas, Florida, Arizona, Colorado, Georgia. It has nothing to do with California in whole. Like, California is a different beast. We just hit the fourth biggest economy in the world right now. Even with all the problems, it's a golden state. There's a money moving. It has the second most millionaires next to New York City, New York. So anybody from Cali's spitting media nonsense, it's an easy objection to overcome. Just state that, and they're gonna buy a house.
Love it. All right. Well, speaking of objections, last time, thank you, Chris, for the contribution too. Last time we got together, we went through some of this long-term nurture stuff. We hit on some scripts. We did a little bit of group practice. What we're going to do with the rest of the time here, we got 20 minutes. We're going to finally do those breakout sessions. I want everyone to get a chance to practice the script and the quick follow-up to being able to pitch to someone a long-term nurture lead, re-engaging with them. So I'm going to share in the chat this script. This is what we went through last time. We did this as a group. These are some talking points, right? The scenario where you're using this, these are leads that you haven't spoken to in a while. They could be Zillow leads. This is what we're mainly focusing on, but this can work for any lead. If you're calling through a pond, if you're calling through open house leads that you got 6 or 8 months ago, or whatever, anyone who you haven't had solid engagement with recently, and you're trying to just kind of, churn up the pond to see what's going on in your database. Last time we went together, these openers, you can pick any of them, customize them as you want, but these openers are basically openers. I'm going to share my screen here too, so you all can see what I'm looking at, but I see a bunch of you jumping into this document, so definitely take a look there. Can you all see the document on my screen? Good, okay, cool. So basically there are 5 of these openers. They're all a little bit wonky, and that's the point, right? Because you're calling someone who doesn't really know you, you don't really have a relationship with them, and you're trying to earn the opportunity to get the next 30 seconds of the call, right? Hey, Chris, this is Dan. Look, you're gonna hate me. I'm a realtor. Do you want to hang up or give me 30 seconds to tell you why I called? Right? That's the sort of thing where someone's like, all right, yeah, what's going on? And that gets you the opportunity to then make your pitch for why they should talk to you. Okay, so again, this is not your friend that you haven't talked to in a month that is looking to buy. This is a cool or cold relationship that you're just trying to rekindle and get the opportunity to talk to. So what you'll be doing when we go into these breakout rooms, pick one of these and practice. You'll be pairing up with someone. I want someone to be client. I want someone to be the agent, and you're going to practice this opener. And then you can pick one of these basically hooks for if they give you that next 30 seconds, what value do you have to contribute to them for why they should consider talking to you more, right? So pick something on here. If you have your own, that's totally fine. These are just ideas. There's nothing magic about these ones. The important thing is that you have something of value after they give you that next 30 seconds, other than, yeah, I was just checking in. I wanted to see how your home search was going, right? That's going to kill the conversation right there. But have something of value like, yeah, I was calling because a lot of my clients who put their home search on hold in the past are starting to look again because the market's really shifted towards buyers a lot in the last couple of weeks. We've actually been having a lot of success negotiating concessions. We just had a new construction deal where we were able to get $25,000 from the builder to contribute towards the buyers, right? A hook, something like that, and then wrap with, if we could get you a deal like that, I know you were on pause for a while, but would you be interested in revisiting buying a home? Something along those lines, right? That is what you're going for, and we're going to practice this, and I want all of you to get a chance to practice this in these breakout rooms so that you can go through and feel more comfortable using these talking points with your clients.
And I want to put some emphasis on a few things, Dan. We need full participation in this practice because proper preparation will prevent a poor performance when we're engaging or trying to re-engage with these leads. Remember, we're talking about the long-term nurture funnel of the conversion equation, right? So practice saying something that's going to get them to give you 30 seconds and then leverage those 30 seconds. Like practice it. Let's practice it now. Some of you are in the gym, some of you are in the car. I'm going to ask you to, take a break on your set. We got literally 17 minutes or 15, 14 minutes because we're going to reconvene. Practice. Like be intentional about the practice. Just because we break you out into these breakout rooms, don't disconnect from the call or talk about, how your family's doing. I mean, that's cool. You do that on your personal time, but this is time that we allocate to sharpen our knives. So practice. Okay, my brother, break them out.
All right. So Bert, I'm going to put you in one room to lead and facilitate. I'm going to go in another. Aaron, you want to lead a room? You feeling up for it?
I think he needs to practice.
I guess so, since you called me out.
You can practice. All you got to do, though, is just make sure. So we're trying to keep people 1 minute, 90 seconds tops, and just keep the rotation going, keep the side conversations to a 0, and just reps for the next 13, 14 minutes.
In and out.
All right. We're going to open 3 breakout rooms. We're going to jump in. Thank you, Aaron. I know I put you on the spot, but you got it. It'll be easy. All right, let's get to it. So make sure you've got the script open, and we'll go to it.
Yep.
I was rude.
Okay, Hugo's a little bit tough to close in 60 seconds.
Oh, am I answering?
No, you're good. You're good. we had the countdown clock, missed the shot clock. That's all right. All
I
right,
left
let's
the
go ahead
breakout
and
room way before time.
we'll go ahead and close out here. We got 2 minutes left. Vernon, any takeaways from your room of rapid fire going through this scripting?
Yeah, just great. My team, they took the baton and ran with it. If I have any yeah, they did well, right? Practice, practice, practice. That's what it boils down to. And then focusing on some specific things like the objective is to secure the appointment, right? That's we're getting into the call, we're hooking the bait with the goal of securing the appointment. And so really just want to reemphasize to just a broader group, remember what we're doing, what's the objective? Secure the appointment. And so, our team did well with that. And yeah, it was a good session. Would you guys agree in our group? Good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, good work.
Love it.
I'm gonna
Love it.
jump
That's
out so I can do a
Yep.
quick video.
Are you doing a quick video of this? All right. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, Vernon, is the goal of these calls is not necessarily to convince them to become a homeowner or, get them to agree to be your client. It's just to book another appointment to have a longer conversation. You don't want to have the 10, 15-minute conversation right there because they're probably busy and doing something else. And you told them 30 seconds or a minute or so. So that's a really good point. Aaron, thoughts from your group, team leader, how'd it go over there?
I liked our group. We had a stumble moment that was a good learning moment, and it was a reminder of what we're doing here, why we practice every day on these or every Thursday on these calls and doing this stuff, and what has been constantly encouraged to us by Elias, Vernon, you guys telling us to practice and role play. So it was good, and it was good that we were amongst each other when it all happened, and it just makes us sharper down the road. But yeah, overall, we did our best to do some good role playing and secure those appointments.
Good. All right. Final thought I'll leave everyone with today is, like Vernon said, practice. Like Aaron said, practice. The important thing is to do this here in a safe environment where flubs and do-overs and all that is totally allowed and is not going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars in commission opportunity. So with that, we'll leave you all. Thank you, everyone, for participating, for engaging. We'll see you next time. That's all I got for you.
Peace.